You're listening to episode 2 of the Rehumanist podcast. In this conversation, we are derailing a little bit. Is it possible to derail when you've only been on the rails for one other episode? Don't worry about it. But on this episode, we are talking about how over 80 million people have watched this reel that I put together about Ariel and I's love story, and kind of looking at what does it look like and what does it mean whenever the internet world kind of leaks into real life, and how does that affect things? How does that change your perspective? How do you navigate it? It's been fun to see how many people have connected to our story and have left us such thoughtful and loving comments. So thanks for that. Let's get into it. Last time we did a bit of introductions of who we are, what the Rehumanist is all about, and kind of left on a cliffhanger about next time we're going to get more in the meat and potatoes. More into the meat of human meat. Oh, speaking of, okay, I got to derail us because this story is really funny. So speaking of, in the interim, I also got a new job, which was really great.
That's awesome.
But I was interviewing for this job one morning, and you were helping me iron my jacket. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
And it's just like a really intense moment. I'm getting in the zone, right? Getting in the zone, and I hear you ironing my jacket in the other room, and I hear our son come up to you, and just totally unprompted.
Oh, no.
He goes, "Hey, Mom, did you know that cats are made of meat?"
Oh, that's right. I had forgotten about that.
Then you were like, "What?"
Didn't I lose it?
No, yeah. You were trying not to laugh too hard because he was serious. And then he goes, "Yeah, cats have meat inside them. That's what Sister told me."
Oh, my gosh. His older sister messing with his mind.
I was just thinking, what conversations are our children having when we're not around? Cats are made of meat. But now that joke's ruined. We can't even make that joke now because now the whole thing about Haitian immigrants eating pets, it's like...
I forgot about that. Oh, man. It's ruined.
It's ruined.
Shoot.
Thanks, Obama.
No, it's not his problem. It's a Trump. Obama has nothing to do with that.
Where was he? I don't even remember what we're talking about. Meat.
You said it was the meat and potatoes.
Gosh, we're horrible at podcasting.
Yeah.
What's happening? Last time we talked about getting into the meat and potatoes of what the Rehumanist is. And we are going to do that. But we'll take a little bit of a detour because kind of crazy. We have this video about that I made for our anniversary that kind of blew up on the internet, and I think it has over 80 million views on Instagram now. I'm flabbergasted. Yeah, and I think it's really corny to talk about going viral, but I do think this is a good opportunity to talk about the online world and how that collides with the real world and how they interact with each other and how being perceived in a very big way kind of changes the way you think about things. It seemed like a good opportunity now to kind of reference that.
Right, especially because the Rehumanist does have an online presence, and we can talk about how that intersects with your real life, like how the online version of you coincides with not the real life version, and how we try to avoid too much like interactions with the online version because that's not real.
Right. So that's what the conversation is going to be about today. We're going to get into it in a little bit. First, I had some housekeeping I feel like I needed to do. So the last episode that we recorded, I referred to myself as an unwashed Philistine, which I feel like probably requires a little bit of explanation because I just realized that might come across as
did you get any people commenting on it?
No.
Oh, okay.
I did get a lot of. Here's the thing: is like after that video blew up, I did get a lot of people who watched the podcast, and I did get a lot of people. I think I had like one video, like 5 videos down, where I referenced no longer being an evangelical. Anyway, so like, yeah, I did get. It was strangely a lot of I think like Brazilian people, which is really random, saying things like, "I hope you'll come back to God," which is interesting because that implies that there's only 2 ways of thinking, that you're either like an evangelical Christian or you've like ran away from the faith.
Right.
And not even considering
Evangelicalism
the myriad of ways that you can believe other things.
Because it makes it seem like it's the only way.
Well, I mean, that's also how, that's how we were raised was you're either blood bought, spirit taught, Bible toting, scripture quoting evangelical, or you're an angry atheist who's mad at God.
Yep.
And those are kind of the only two options there.
When there's like a whole plethora of things in between.
Right. So anyways, I felt like I should probably explain a little bit about what I meant by unwashed Philistine. But I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. 10 minutes of the podcast. Because otherwise, it's going to be a 3 hour. No. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2 hour conversation, which would be a lot of fun. But I'm not prepared for that. And that's not what we're doing here. But yeah, I mean, so the phrase unwashed Philistine comes from the Bible. I think like 1 Samuel is where you see some of it. But the idea behind it is that people might think it's kind of offensive because I'm making fun of a people group. But what people should know is that the Philistines haven't been a distinct people group since like 900 BC, 500 BC. Mm. We don't even really know where they came from. We think they might have been like Greek or from Crete or something like that. They didn't really leave a lot behind. There's no way to genetically link yourself to them. There's no modern day Philistines. So there's nobody who could be offended by that phrase. Well, that's not true. There's probably plenty of people who could be, but they shouldn't because I'm making fun of a people group that doesn't exist. But really what I'm doing there with the phrase unwashed Philistine is it's not so much making fun of the Philistines so much as it is a critique of the way that the ancient Israelites used that othering language and that dehumanizing language to describe their political and cultural enemies and to justify the genocide and other terrible acts that they supposedly committed during the conquest of Canaan and subsequent military campaigns. And then also a critique of the way that modern Christians, particularly in charismatic circles, have then reattributed that language and used it to describe other people who don't fit their theological bent. So there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Really, it's mocking how the modern day people view others who are not evangelicals.
Yeah, I guess. Mostly it's just funny to say.
That's what mocking means.
Oh, yeah. You got a point. So then I guess like, well, what do I mean by that when I refer to myself as it, or as a dirty heathen? So, I mean, yeah, like the way I would describe it, and this is hard because
it's so much more nuanced than that.
And really most conversations about labeling yourself as far as what you believe really come down to semantics. It's a matter of, everyone kind of has a different definition of what a word means.
Exactly.
Like you could ask so many people, what does it mean to be a Christian or to be an atheist?
Yeah.
Right. So even in my description, people would be like, that's not what that is. Like, you're probably right to some degree.
But generally speaking.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say nowadays I kind of fluctuate between like an agnostic deist and an agnostic atheist. Probably agnostic deist on most days. Mm-hmm. If you were to like sum it up as much as possible, I think we were talking about this last night. Mm-hmm. Like the question of like ultimate reality. Why is there existence instead of non-existence?
Right.
Why is there something instead of nothing? I believe that the most intellectually honest answer to that question is a big shrug. Right? Is how could you possibly
know? Yeah.
But of course, like that's kind of everybody. Everyone's technically agnostic. So I think for me, when I look at that question of ultimate reality, it's kind of absurd no matter which direction you take it, whether there's this uncaused cause or this first cause or some sort of something about matter in existence that has the property of having always existed. Like no matter which direction you go, it's just ridiculous,
craziness,
and absurd. And for whatever reason, most days I choose to like think that absurdity has a consciousness or it has some sort of form to it. Mm-hmm. But that's not the same thing as saying the Judeo-Christian God of the Bible is true. Right. I mean, maybe, again, there's just so many different ways to think about it. And that was like an 8-year journey for me, probably maybe 6-year journey. So like, that's another thing is like, I can't sum up everything
6
like
years,
that.
Yeah.
Like if somebody asked me, why are you no longer a Christian?
It's like a domino
well,
effect.
And it's, I mean, combination of archaeological and philosophical and psychological and textual and linguistic reasons all combining together and filtering through my personality and my personal experiences and the way I see the world, my genetic predisposition towards needing a certain degree of evidence, and all of that filtering through my different incentives that I have to believe certain things and how those are shifting, and my plausibility structures. So it's like, it's pretty complex. But then if people are like, well, what are those reasons? Like, what are those archaeological and historical?
Well, you'd have to sit down with them for a long time.
If somebody asked me that, I would be straight cooked, man.
Yeah.
'Cause I can't keep all that in my head.
You can keep a lot of it in your head.
Some of it. But yeah, like the amount of just information you have to have in your brain to have like a facts-based discussion about the historicity of the Gospels. I can't. Yeah. It's like, okay, give me 5 to 7 business days to like, I don't know, to like assemble everything.
Basically, you have to create a master's thesis on it in order to like really get to the nitty gritty.
Right, but there's already plenty of other masters.
I know,
theses.
exactly.
Theses? What's the plural of thesis?
Theses?
Thesis.
No, the
Theseus.
Theseus? Isn't that a Greek
Theseus?
guy?
The ship of Theseus? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, and that is one of the things, though, is that, well, a big kind of misconception, which I totally understand why it happens. And if you know my personal story, particularly, it makes sense that people would think this, but I think a lot of people think that my faith journey kind of out of American Christianity, really Christianity as a whole, was mostly because of negative experiences and because I was hurt, which I did have negative experiences.
Right.
And I was hurt. And I'm never going to gatekeep. I don't want to gatekeep for other people or say for other people, this is why you can and can't believe things. So I'll just say for me, in particular, I don't see being hurt by the church or having negative experiences with churches or pastors or Christians as sufficient reason for me to change what I believe.
Right.
Because at least the kind of Christianity that we were raised with is essentially a bunch of truth claims, right? It's like a bunch of things that you say to be true about history and that you then align yourselves with. So like Jesus was fully God, fully man. He was born of a virgin, lived a sinless life, was crucified under Pontius Pilate, raised 3 days later. He ascended into heaven so that the Holy Spirit could descend at Pentecost, and he was coming back one day to judge the living and the dead. Like, those are historical truth claims of like these things actually happened or are going to happen. And so, being abused by a pastor or being, kicked out of a church, something like that. Terrible things that happen, shouldn't happen, bad things that happen, but ultimately those things have no bearing on like where the Gospel's eyewitness accounts.
Right. What is the truth of these things?
Right. Like Christians being super mean or vile to me, bad, yes, but ultimately, does that have anything to do with whether Paul actually had a vision?
Right. No.
I mean, I think there is a more nuanced conversation there about the witness and testimony, but ultimately, no. So for me, it's like, especially with me being a very kind of analytical guy, yes, I had all these bad experiences, but I can't let those dictate what I think about.
Right.
So that was probably more than 10 minutes. But
It's about, you're around there. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, so yeah, I guess just felt like clearing the air with that. So
I didn't know that you felt so burdened.
I didn't feel burdened. It was just, I should probably explain this.
Okay. For anybody who might be wondering.
Yeah.
What that means.
Sure.
Or what you meant by it.
Well, and I feel like people have been starting to engage with our content a lot, but you always tend to engage with somebody's content through the lens of your own experience, but also through the lens of who they are. So, yeah, I'm sure it'll come up again.
Yeah.
At some point in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't we get into a conversation about
Speaking of
our
engaging with
video.
content.
But before that, I think we have some ads that we need to read. Some sponsors sponsoring the show, definitely not generated by ChatGPT. So I will say, though, before you get to reading that, I just let you know that we did receive a pretty strongly worded email from Sergio's divorce attorney and laundromat after our last episode. They felt we did not treat their ad read with the respect and dignity deserved.
I thought you did such a good job with that.
Apparently, it was a little too lighthearted, especially for the subject matter, and was not becoming of a very professional, very popular podcast such as ourselves. Yeah.
Sergio had a problem.
So,
Okay.
anyways, keep that in mind. So please take this very seriously.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Hey, gardeners and DIY enthusiasts. Struggling with digging holes or tunnels for your next big project? Meet Moles and Holes, the eco-friendly solution to your digging needs. At Moles and Holes, we rent out trained moles that dig holes and tunnels quickly and efficiently. Whether you're planting a new garden, setting up irrigation, or creating underground pathways, our moles get the job done with minimal impact on the environment. Just visit molesandholes.com. Schedule your rental and we'll deliver our industrious little diggers right to your door. These moles are experts at creating perfectly sized holes and tunnels without the backbreaking labor or heavy machinery. At Moles and Holes, we take pride in our team of specialized moles, each with unique skills and characteristics tailored to differing digging needs. Let's meet some of our star diggers. First up, we have Turbo Tim, our speed demon. Turbo Tim is perfect for projects that require quick results. His swift digging abilities can create multiple holes or long tunnels in record time, making him ideal for larger gardening projects or rapid underground installations. Next, there's Deep Digger Daisy. Daisy excels in creating deep, narrow holes. Perfect for planting trees or setting up deep root irrigation systems. Her strong claws and persistent nature allow her to dig deeper than any other mole in our lineup, ensuring your project gets the depth it needs. And let's not forget Precision Pete. Pete is known for his meticulous and accurate digging. If you need holes that are perfectly spaced and precisely sized, Pete's your mole. His attention to detail ensures that every hole and tunnel is dug to your exact specifications, making him perfect for detailed landscaping and intricate gardening designs. At Moles and Holes, we believe in harnessing the power of nature to help you achieve your project goals sustainably and effectively. And here's the best part. Use the promo code DIGSMART for 10% off your first rental. So if you need holes or tunnels, think green and dig smart with Moles and Holes. Visit molesandholes.com today and let nature's little diggers do the hard work for you.
Hey, movie buffs. Are you ready for the fall blockbuster that everyone's talking about? Get ready for Flamingo Rescue, an epic, heartwarming film based on the incredible true story of one man's daring mission to save 500 flamingos. Stunning visuals, gripping action, and a story that will touch your soul. This movie has it all. The flamingos find themselves in danger as their habitat is threatened by a sudden environmental disaster. Rising water levels and pollution put the entire flock at risk. Enter our hero, Jack Harrison, a dedicated wildlife conservationist with a passion for protecting endangered species. But Jack isn't just battling nature. He's up against a bizarre and menacing villain, Vlad Gatorowski, a half-alligator, half-man rock star with a dark obsession with controlling the wetlands. Vlad will stop at nothing to sabotage Jack's efforts, using his mutated strength and cunning to wreak havoc on the rescue mission. And as if dealing with a monstrous adversary weren't enough, Jack struggles with his own inner demons, specifically a severe case of IBS. Throughout the film, Jack's battle with his condition adds both tension and humor as he faces the physical and emotional toll of his quest while trying to keep his body in check. Yet, despite the discomfort and unpredictability of his condition, Jack's resolve never falters, showing us that the true heroes persevere even when their challenges are both external and internal. I had the chance to watch Flamingo Rescue last weekend, and I was blown away. The cinematography is absolutely stunning, capturing the beauty and the grace of the flamingos in their natural habitat. The story is incredibly moving, and I found myself on the edge of my seat, rooting for Jack every step of the way. It's not just a film, it's an inspirational journey that will stay with you long after the credits roll. So don't miss out on the film that critics are calling an unforgettable cinematic experience. Grab your friends and family and head to the theaters this fall for Flamingo Rescue. Visit flamingorescuemovie.com for showtimes and tickets. Trust me, this is one movie you won't want to miss. So, Aria, what was it like being famous on the internet for like a month?
Can't say I enjoyed it that much.
Really?
It was weird.
It was weird.
But I particularly don't enjoy being perceived in general.
Right.
So having that many people know our story made me feel a little uneasy.
Well, we did talk about when it first started popping off. Maybe we should take this down because it wasn't meant to be.
I didn't think it was going to get that crazy popular. And when you showed it to me or when you posted it, and in honor of our anniversary, I was like, oh, it's so sweet. It made me cry. Like, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, 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 and I was like, oh shoot, okay, now what? I mean, okay. I didn't hate it either. I mean, obviously, let's just be honest. Everybody probably enjoys a bit of like, ooh, 15 minutes of fame.
Right.
But like, I know that I wouldn't like to actually be that famous. Like, the most level of fame I could probably ever handle is like an author or something.
Right.
Where people don't actually know your face.
I mean, to have that amount of attention all the time.
It's like all
for
the
everything
time. That
do.
would be weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy it very much. And not to mention, I'm thinking of it in like a motherly way. So like my kids would be really affected, which is why we try to not post them very much. Like they're like little blurbs here and there, if that. Like,
Right.
so I'm really careful with the internet when it comes to them too. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm in the middle.
Sure. I mean, that's the thing about the internet is that you put something out there and then sure, you could take it down, but other people might repost it.
Right.
And
well, it's already been.
it kind of takes on it takes on a life of its own. And once you put it on the internet, it's kind of out of your control as
Right.
far as what it becomes and what it does.
And I'm not saying, because like the video itself is wonderful. Like I said, it made me cry.
Sure.
And so I'm okay. I obviously am okay with it being on the internet. Otherwise, I would have told you to take it down.
Right.
So, yeah. I think it just really shocked me that it got that popular. It shocked me.
There's definitely a certain energy that having a viral video kind of takes out of you. Whenever you post a video that goes viral, but it's for something like politics or religion or something very divisive, there's an energy there that's just so draining, especially when there's a lot of comments and stuff.
Right.
But fortunately, I feel like this video is pretty positive, pretty universal.
Yeah.
There's always going to be weird people in the comments, but for the most part,
some of them aren't even real people.
right?
So.
For the most part, super positive. So I didn't feel necessarily the negative energy drain, but it does still take a lot of your.
Right. And there's absolutely no way to read every comment
Right.
or like we appreciate people, like a lot of people in the comments share their own experiences,
Yeah.
similar things. And I love that. I love that. It like, cause what we're trying to do and what you're trying to do with the Humanist is to bring people together in those positive ways. Right. And I feel like love is one of those things. Love is one of those great common denominators. Like people crave love. They want love.
They love love.
They love love. And love is a wonderful, positive thing. And so the Rehumanist, I mean, we are trying to bring that back, like that connection to what makes us human, right? And love is definitely one of those things that makes us human. So, yeah, I think it's overall a good thing.
Definitely just does take a lot of your mental energy when you wake up. Like, oh, I got to reply to this message from this very famous rap artist. Or, hey, did you see that Kim Kardashian liked our video and has seen our love story? And not that I've been like dying for Kim Kardashian to know who I am,
like
but
any
it's just,
other famous person, really. Like anybody who's like in the media and in the public eye.
Right. Oh, hey, this person who's our favorite character from this show watched our love story and now knows about it.
That's pretty cool.
It is it's cool and it's weird.
Yeah.
And like I said, it definitely takes some energy, not necessarily in a bad way, but just kind of makes you think about things.
But it makes you think about, it makes you think about like what you put on the internet. Like you have to be careful. Like you said, like the negative things, like I would never want to contribute to that.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that became very fortunate, I feel like, for us is that this video wasn't exactly on brand for everything that I create through The Humanist, but it's close enough. You know, it's different. I had that video of our dog Charlie that went viral earlier this year, and maybe that was last year. I don't even remember.
Update: he's still alive.
He's still about to turn 18.
Crazy.
And the thing is totally different than the other stuff that I'm creating, and that can really derail when something you're trying to do online, especially if you kind of follow it.
Right.
So luckily, I feel like, we're podcasting together already, so we have this thing, and so it made sense that video went viral. So that's good.
And like I said, it's in line with what the Rehumanist is about, right? The things that we are rehumaning ourselves with, like the things that connect us all as humanity, and love, positivity. Those are things that connect people in good ways.
This is something I've been wanting to get your insight on. And when you look at a lot of the comments, something I didn't really pick up on until this started blowing up is how many people talked about how rare our story is, and how not only rare it is, but how that it doesn't happen like that anymore.
Right. A lot of people were saying with the online dating apps and stuff, that it's almost impossible to have that now. Which honestly, that broke my heart a little bit. I was like really sad when I kept reading comments like that, because I don't think, obviously we're not in the dating sphere. And so like we're not aware of what that's like for people now, or we might be, but it's like very far removed. Like we don't actually understand what it's like. And yeah, I was like, really? Is it that bad? Like, is it that hard to find someone who's like-minded, who cares about you, who,
I mean, I think you're also seeing a little bit of selection bias too, though.
Possibly.
People come to that. But no, I agree. It's interesting to see, because, I mean, obviously, I don't take our marriage for granted, but I mean, I think you would agree with me when I say this, is that this is the only timeline we've ever known.
Yes.
So for us, I think, and we've been married for so long, we kind of forget how special it is that we found each other and fell in love and have been okay all these years.
Yeah, and then it worked out when so many of our friends and people have not.
Yeah. That's the weird thing about being in your 30s, is that you start seeing people get divorced, and it's sad. And which, speaking of, a lot of people were like, "You're not middle aged," because I think it says something about it in the video.
Oh, well, people are trying to guess our ages.
I said sliding into middle age, which implies that we're not middle aged yet. And that's the weird thing about being in your 30s is you're not young adults anymore, but you're also not middle aged.
Right.
You're not young adults, but you are young adults.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Yes.
But yeah, I think for me, having this video go very viral was kind of nice, in that it really made me kind of appreciate our marriage more. Not that I wasn't appreciating it before, but I guess it reminded me, looking at our marriage through the context of what most people experience, which is a couple of failed relationships, at best maybe, or not finding love at all. And so I think for me, it's kind of just the personal bonus of that. But then also, yes, for me, it's been bringing up a lot of thoughts about, I guess, more just the loneliness epidemic and what it looks like to find love in the modern age. Which you have talked
before on your page about before the loneliness epidemic, and how social media has kind of exacerbated that.
So I have a theory. I don't have any data for this, but you tell me if you think it makes sense.
Is it a theory or a hypothesis then?
Oh, I don't know. I guess a hypothesis. And that's that a big reason why maybe, because first of all, we don't know for sure that people aren't dating as much. Actually, maybe there is data about that.
We should look it up.
I should probably have brought that to this conversation.
We probably should have researched a little bit.
But just assuming that there is, kind of the whole thing, people talking about like this never happens anymore. I think part of it is that if you look at, take a high school boy and high school girl from the 90s, anytime beyond 20 years ago, the 90s, 80s, 50s, whatever, they're going to the same school, maybe the same church, they're watching one of the same 5 TV shows that are on TV, listening to the same musical artists. And while they might grow up to be fundamentally different people, there's a greater percentage chance that high school boy and that high school girl are going to be shaped and formed by the same cultural forces, right? They're going to be watching the same things, listening to the same things, learning the same lessons from the same people for the most part. But in today's day and age, when we have most of our stories and all of the things that we're learning about are coming from the internet, that's chopped up in these tiny little niches and micro communities, what that means is that you can have a modern high school boy and a high school girl that go to the same school, they're inhabiting the same geographical place, but because of the internet and algorithms, they are being shaped, informed, and being given entirely different perspectives of the world, right? And so, yeah, it used to be that if you were in the same geographical place as somebody else, you had a higher percentage chance of kind of like being the same kind of person as them. Whereas now you can be in the same geographical place as somebody else and have wildly different views of the world because of the media you consume.
Which would make it a lot harder for people to find someone to click with.
Anyway, that's my theory. Anyways, probably one of the many things.
A big factor.
Right. I don't think it's the main, maybe even the main thing, but it's my theory that's one of the things is that, yeah, used to be, you see somebody in school, it's like, this person's a lot like me. They live in the same town and kind of have the same life experience. Of course, again, that's not like a huge generalization, but just the chances of that being true were higher. Now it's like, oh yeah, this person, same class, same town, we know a lot of the same people, but they spend every night going down a right-wing rabbit hole on YouTube and are becoming a neo-Nazi. It's like, could happen.
Could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It's wild. I didn't think about that.
Yep.
I mean, we obviously did get so many different people's experiences on there. Like lots of people saying, well, it's not like that anymore. A lot of people were saying, oh, yes, very similar story to me and my husband or me and my wife. Or even people, I noticed some people saying that their teenagers, it seemed like they were kind of going down that road as well. And I thought that was really sweet. Those were really sweet ones to read. So it's not all hopeless. I feel like there's definitely still hope for love.
Sure. And that's the thing I think is really important to bring to this conversation about loneliness and how the modern world is changing is that we have to make sure not to catastrophize, and say, oh, nobody can find love anymore. Well, that's not true. It might be true to an extent in certain ways. So yeah, I think it is important to kind of bring that nuance back into it. But how do you feel about your life becoming content, your marriage becoming content? Is that weird for you?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, it was strange to see how many people watched it and interacted with it, and I wouldn't want to do that as a full-time thing. Like, I think I'm fine with you putting little bits and pieces out there sometimes, but like I do not want to profit off of our life together or our family at all. Like, and I hate to, be judgmental, but like a lot of family creators out there. And here's the thing is I understand wanting to make money and support your family, but it gets really, really iffy.
Yeah, once those big TikTok checks start coming in, it's hard to to say no.
I'm like, especially when the kids get involved, I'm just like, I can't condone that. And I feel like it puts a lot of pressure on that relationship too, because then you have to like pretend for the cameras and be a certain persona. And
you're basically living a reality TV show in the worst way possible.
And can we just say that most reality TV shows involving families have ended with that family just imploding?
Yeah.
Putting your family out there for everyone to see all the time is not okay, in my opinion. So definitely not all the time. For me too, it's just, that's one of the big things I'm trying to fight against with The Rehumanist is not letting technology change what it means to be me. Right.
Like, for instance, I've been riding my bike to work, and every time I ride up past the lake in the mornings, this time of year, there's this beautiful fog that's always rising out of the water. And it's so cool. And what I found recently, especially with this viral videos, and like suddenly having 80,000 more followers, is my first thought now is, oh, that would make a good content. And I have to like suppress that feeling because I don't want to like go through life looking at life through the context of this making good content.
Right.
I want to just live life.
You want to live the life without the first thought being the lens.
And it's such a dehumanizing thing to feel, to see something beautiful, and for my first thought to be, how can I profit from this? How can I gain fake internet points from this? How can I get attention? So yeah, I found myself kind of battling that, but
I haven't battled that at all. Don't worry.
Well, even going off of that, like there is the idea of has been a really good thing. I mean, like I said, like suddenly I'm a micro influencer.
It has brought you an audience.
Right. But now I have this burden of, there's people who spend years and years trying to get just like one viral video, trying to gain an audience. And I basically have one overnight now. Mm-hmm. And so I feel this pressure of like, I got to do something with it now. Like I kind of became too successful too fast. I was kind of planning on building this up over time.
Slowly, yeah.
And now it seems like it's kind of taking off and I don't really know what to do with it. But the thing is like if you have one viral video is not going to change your life. Like unless you're the Hawk Tuah girl or the yodeling Walmart kid, you're probably
he's like a famous singer.
Right,
now.
like it's probably not going to change your life. But having one viral video can, if you take that momentum and make the right moves over the next 6 months, you can build a career for yourself or build something.
So you have to,
that
like
can
you said,
change your
you
life.
have to make good choices, basically.
Right. But that's the thing is like my experience the past couple of weeks has been like while I'm at work and like on my way home from work, I'm thinking I have this crazy viral video popping off. My Instagram account has reached 39 million accounts in the past 6 days, which most people on the internet would kill for that kind of reach.
Right.
And I can't squander it. I can't just let it slip through my fingers.
But also not letting that dictate your life.
But then that's the thing is like I have this lightning strike that I have to bottle up and do something with. And that's what I'm thinking about as I come through the door, coming home from work. I'm thinking, all right, my 9 to 5's over. I got to spend my 5 to 9 like grinding, creating content, really making sure that I can take the momentum from this viral video and build something that could change our family's lives. And that's what I'm thinking about as I come through the door. And then as soon as I get through the door, our son is like, "Hey, Dad,
want to wrestle?
Yeah, today's a good day to go to Treehouse today."
Oh, sweet boy.
And it's like, of course I'm going to choose that.
Of
like
course,
every
as
single
you
time.
should.
Right.
As you should.
And so I know for me, like I don't say that as a way of like lamenting that I'm trapped because of my family, but just like lamenting the fact that I am finite and that for me to like
everything you have to say no, everything you say yes to, you say no to something else.
Yeah, and that's kind of the charge of being a husband and a father, and a good husband and a father is being willing to kind of set down this potential success in order to pay attention to the things that really matter in hopes that I can pick it up later.
Right.
And
coming to terms with the fact that like if you do set it down and it is really hard to pick up later and things don't pop off like they should have or want to, like being okay with that. Like
totally.
Knowing that your online presence at the end of the day actually doesn't mean that much. Like in the grand scheme of things.
That's where I'm at now is, okay, I have this momentum. I got to do something with it. How do I do that in a way that's sustainable, in a way where I can still be present with the people that I need to be present with?
Right.
And it's hard, It's I mean I wouldn't change it. If I could go and live my life over 100 times, I would choose to be their dad in every one of them,
Yeah.
But it still means that there are things that you have to say no to, which happens. Anyways. Well, you got anything else to say about that?
No. I mean, in the future, if another video of us pops off like that, I think I'll be a little bit more prepared for how it'll feel. But like I said, you're not going to do too many of those, so.
Right. You got to mix it up a little bit.
Right. I mean, that's not your main content anyway.
Right.
It's nice to see. I think what people do is they like to see into the background, like, or behind the scenes of people's lives too. So like they'd like to hear people's stories. They like to see like what your life is like.
They like to get the good tea.
Right, the good tea. Which is probably why people enjoyed Charlie's videos so much too. So
I mean, everyone loves dogs.
Oh, he's such a good boy too.
So anyways, I'm sure we'll have more thoughts about that, but any closing remarks?
I think just to sum it up, like, don't let your online life become your real life.
After listening back to that conversation, I realized I still just have so much more to say about the internet and relationships and religion and Flamingo Rescue. Really, you should go see it. If you want more of where all this came from, make sure you're following us on all the things. Links to all of the things are in the episode description. This is a great time for me to plug my newsletter. If you want some more long-form content, but in the form of words you can read instead of listen to, you can go check it out. The link for that is also in the episode notes. Until Until next time, don't forget to slow down and be human.